So you're thinking about moving to Granbury, Texas? Well, in this video, we are going to take you on a little map tour to give you an idea of where everything's at, the different neighborhoods you might be interested in. We'll talk about different lifestyles and all that kind of stuff. And if you stick around to the end, we'll talk a little bit about the changes coming up in Granbury. So let's hop to it. Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. My name is Tom Jong. I am your local expert and guide. If you want to know all there is to know about the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including Granbury, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be the very first to know about all of our videos when they drop, go ahead and ring that bell. So we are, we cover the Metroplex, my team and I do. And Granbury, while some people don't really consider it a suburb of Fort Worth, I do. My parents live there. I've got a lake house there. It's just it's a really fun spot. It's a great place to live. It's, I think, the #2 place to retire in Texas. So there's a big draw for a lot of reasons. I think, #1, it's got a lake. And if you like any kind of recreational activities outdoors, it probably involves water here in Texas with it being so hot in the summer. So, for that reason, Granbury is a good spot. They also have a ton of golf courses, and they also have a really nice community there. So there's always events going on. They have got a really cute town square. They've got live music going on. They've got different festivals. The town really comes together. So there is that sense of community if you want to get involved. On the flip side, it's also a little bit out of the way. So you do have country living. You'll see cows out there. If you drive off the beaten path, there's a lot of livestock. There's horses, all that kind of stuff. So if you want country living, it's there as well. So there's just a lot of diversity in the type of living that you can have in Granbury, and for that reason, it's on the radar for a lot of folks. Now, the one thing, if you are officing from home, then internet's going to be an issue for you. So there are some neighborhoods, the further out you go, your internet may not be as good. So that's one thing to consider as well if you are going to be working from home. So anyways, in this video, we're going to be talking a lot about the map. I'm gonna show you my iPad here and the different locations, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully this will give you a good idea of where things are located. I'm gonna answer a lot of questions along the way that people typically have if they're moving this direction. And then hopefully by the end of this, you'll get a good idea if this is someplace you want to live, and if so, kind of the spots you want to narrow your search down, all that kind of stuff. And I will say a couple other things too. We have another resource for you. If you go to our website, tomstexasrealty.com, TOMS, Texas spelled out, realty.com /YouTube, what you're going to find is a page with all of our videos on a map. Right, so if you do decide, hey, I'm interested in Granbury, of course there are YouTube playlists and that kind of thing, but you can also search by our map. That way you can find exactly what you're looking for a little bit quicker. So we've got other videos that explore Granbury, different neighborhoods, new builds, some of the best neighborhoods here, the places people, I guess, flock to and that kind of thing. So hopefully all of that is helpful to you. And then also we're going to talk about lake living in this video as well. So there's a lot of content. Hopefully you'll find this very helpful. And if you would, comment below where you're moving from. I'm always interested in if you're retiring or not. I'm always interested to know where people are coming from and whether they're looking at Granbury to retire, or if they're, if you're moving your family. Let me know. Like I'm always curious to see who's coming in. So anyways, let's pull up the map here. So first off is, let's talk about where Granbury is located in relation to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I've got Google Maps up here, and you can see the Metroplex. And just if you're not aware of, I guess, what's really going on here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So we're coming up on the end of 2023. We have had so much growth and so many folks moving here over the last couple of years, especially after COVID, because in Texas, we're all about freedom and guns and all that kind of stuff. So there was, when a lot of the other states had shut down, Texas was like pro-business. They were pro getting out and about and all that kind of stuff. So for that reason, a lot of folks have moved here, and a lot of the growth that's happening right now is happening on the north side of Dallas. So up top, you're looking at Frisco and McKinney, In Fort Worth, it's also moving north as well, kind of towards the Texas Motor Speedway, like this Hazlitt area, and also kind of where the 287 here meets 35 is another, I guess, really growing spot. So that's where you're going to see a lot of new construction. But that's where the most growth is. But really, if you look at a map of like where all the new homes are, it's all over the place. So there's expansion going on everywhere. Granbury's no different. Like, so as far as a place to invest as well, it's a place I've been investing in for the last couple of years for quite a few reasons. But one is it's definitely growing. And one of the things that you'll probably notice the first time that you visit is the fact that it feels like a small lake town that has just grown almost to the point where it's grown past what a lake town should be, and that's causing some issues. We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so if you are driving to Granbury, more than likely, if you're coming from Fort Worth, you're going to be taking 377. So a couple of things to note. If you are driving there, maybe you got into the airport, whatever, you're driving down and you're coming from the Fort Worth area, here in the Benbrook region, there's like a Walmart, and there's some fast food places, and just different, some gas stations, that kind of thing. There's not going to be a lot between Benbrook and Granbury. It's a nice drive, and you're probably not going to hit a whole lot of traffic. Highly unlikely. Anyways, it's 2 lanes both ways, and so anyways, it's a pretty nice drive all the way down, but there's not going to be a whole lot on the road until you get down to Granbury. One thing I will mention is there is a cross section called Crescent, and a lot of people, let me know if you're watching this video and you've ever been stopped by the train, but there is a train track that goes here, and there's like a station or something, and a lot of times that train will stop, which blocks the highway. Right now, hopefully it's not for very long, but it does happen, and it's something that sucks. But that is one of the things that you would have to deal with if you are going to be living in Granbury and commuting to and from. And you'll probably notice at some point, there is a bypass that's being built right now. It's not complete. I'm not sure when it should be complete. I would think in the next year or so. But that is definitely kind of a bummer as far as commuting to and from Fort Worth. But anyways, if you keep following that down, then you are going to end up in Granbury. And a couple of things to note here. As soon as you come into the town, you are going to be you're going to see some car lots. There's a bunch of car lots at the beginning for whatever reason. And then you're going to start to see some shopping. And basically all of 377 is where all the business is, or most of it. There's a little bit off the highway, 144 or whatever. But it's just a ton of businesses. And this, obviously, when you drive through here, there's a ton of stoplights. It obviously wasn't as big as it is now. And so for that reason, there's always traffic going through here. And so this is one of the big complaints. If you live on the other side of the lake and you've got to commute a lot, honestly, it's kind of brutal driving through there. And I'm one of those people that try to schedule my day to where I'm not going to hit all that traffic, but it's hard to do. And as Granbury keeps growing, it's going to get worse. Now, they do have some plans, which we'll talk about later on in the video, to help with all that. But yeah, so and then as far as Granbury goes, a lot of people will talk about it as this little tiny town. A lot of people, if you talk to them, don't know a whole lot about it if they're from the Metroplex, but they've got an H-E-B, which is a really nice grocery store that's based here in Texas, and they've got a Walmart, they've got a Home Depot, a Lowe's. They've got a lot of things that you're going to find in most suburbs. They're just not going to have they're not going to have a lot of the more unique attractions that you're going to find in like a Grapevine or Fort Worth or those kind of areas. And they don't have a ton of hospitals either, which you would think, being a huge retirement place, there would be a bunch of health care facilities and whatnot. There's like some emergency rooms and whatnot, but from my parents live down here, and it seems like talking to them and a few other clients, it sounds like most people will come back to Fort Worth for their healthcare. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then the other thing too is this is something I've gotten wrong a few times. So like, if you are somebody that's going to be commuting and you're commuting to Fort Worth, then being on what I would call the north side of the lake, so basically all of this area that you're seeing here on the map coming down to 377. That is the side of the lake that I would want to be on. Now, I've ran into some issues here in the past with folks that were coming this way, where we have confused north and south of the lake. And so this is something that I guess we should kind of be clear on. A lot of times when people say we're on the north side of the lake, that means they're on the lake, the side of the lake closer to the Dallas and Fort Worth area, which is theoretically northeast of the lake. And so some people look at this as east and west, some north and south, but basically on the Fort Worth side is we're going to be looking at the lake that way. Now, if you're talking about true north and south, then a lot of people will divide the lake up with 377, everything north of 377, everything south 377. So anyways, this can get a little bit confusing. So whenever you're talking with whoever, you may just want to be sure that you guys are clear on what you mean by the north side of the lake, or whether you're talking about the Fort Worth side of the lake or the far side of the lake that way. So as far as drive times go, like if you're coming from downtown Granbury, it's about 55 minutes to the city center of Fort Worth. So, and there is a bunch of shopping on the south side of Fort Worth. So if, to get to that, you're probably 45 minutes from downtown Granbury. And then if you want to get to downtown Weatherford, so there's also a lot of folks that will live in Granbury and commute to Weatherford. And just because, maybe that the housing is, they have, better options in housing. It may be that they want to be near the lake, a lot of different reasons. But if that's the case, then you're going to basically take Weatherford Highway up. So this right here is the city center, the historic Granbury Square, and really cool spot. They've got restaurants, they've got live music, a venue, they've got a lot of different things there. But anyways, if you take Weatherford Highway true north, basically you're going to get to Weatherford in about 35 minutes. So it's not too far from Weatherford either if you are looking to make that kind of commute. So hopefully that gives you an idea of approximately where Granbury is at. And so let's jump into, I guess, where some of the smaller things are, the neighborhoods, all that kind of stuff. So the high school right here, we'll go ahead and pull that up. So Granbury's schools are pretty good. They're above average as far as the state's concerned, if you're basing this off of niche.com, which we have resources in our description if you want to take a look at those kind of things on your own. But and I think we have a pro and con video on Granbury where we go over all the different schools and that kind of thing. There's also a really good neighborhood video that talks about some of the best neighborhoods, and they go over the school districts. So when people talk about Granbury as well, let me just preface this. So Granbury, the city itself is fairly small, but basically all of this area surrounding Granbury, people refer to as Granbury, even though a lot of it's outside city limits. And even you've got Pecan, Plantation, de Cordova, Estates, and also Acton. So in general, a lot of people generalize this whole area as Granbury, but we're going to break this down a little bit more. So I don't know, I still got the square up here. All right, so let's talk about this. Acton. So this is its own town. It's a tiny town. I thought the funniest thing, they had a billboard up on 377 coming in for the longest time. It's like, come shop in Acton. And if you drive into Acton, it's like 2 strip centers. And I don't, it's like, it's not a shopping destination. It's like, if you live near there, it's got some stuff that's going to be real convenient. There's, I think like 2 restaurants over there or something. It's not, it's not a shopping destination, but I love the fact that they had their own billboard. But if you drive into Acton, there's not, not a whole lot going on. There's a few small neighborhoods near there. And then you've got de Cordova, which is a really cool community. My parents live here. I would love to live here. They've got a golf course. They've got, they just redid their clubhouse. We've got a video on that. And they've got a 9-hole golf course, and then also there is another 9-hole course probably going in just outside of the de Cordova Bend Estates. And so this is a really cool community. The HOA dues, so your dues pay for your golf, but it's pretty low. Like last I checked, it's around $200 a month, which includes your trash service and also basically unlimited golf if you are a golfer. So it's a really good deal out there, and the prices aren't too crazy. So that is a good destination. And also if you are one of those people that commute, being on this side of the lake, you basically hop on this little highway. I think it's Fall Creek Highway, and pop out right to 377. And so you're not. I think there's like 1, maybe 2 stoplights on that road. So it's not like you're going to have the type of traffic that you're going to sit in if you're going through 377. So that is a popular spot to land. The other one that people talk about all the time, you're going to hear about, is Pecan Plantation. So past de Cordova, you can kind of see here at the end of the lake, which Granbury is a flooded river, right? So the river kind of wraps around Pecan Plantation. Let me move this a little bit so you guys can see it. Yeah, so your road wraps around here, and this is I mean, it was built as a retirement community. They have shopping in here. You can go get your groceries without even leaving, the neighborhood. They've got, I believe they've got a landing strip in here. They've got 2 golf courses. They've got horse stalls if you got horses that you ride. I mean, it's like, as far as retirement living goes, they have a lot to offer here, and it's not built out either. So you can still buy new homes in this community. They're always building. It's just such a big area that there's always new development going on. They keep adding homes. There's plenty of pre-existing homes to choose from as well. And so this is also a really good option, especially if you're somebody that doesn't need to commute very often. And if you're looking at a place where, you can drive your golf cart around, you don't have to drive your car as much, then this could be a really good option as well. So for that reason, a lot of people, will look into Pecan Plantation. And all right, so it's about as far south as we're going to go there. And then bringing this back up, let's talk a little bit about if you're going to live closer to the city center. So a few of another really nice neighborhood over here. And the other thing too is there are cookie cutter neighborhoods here that I would call cookie cutter. So like your D.R. Horton builders, your big production home builders, they are buying up these big tracts of land. They'll go in and develop. All of this got slowed down over the last year or so because Granbury, being a small town, didn't have enough sewer capabilities, right, to support more growth. So anyways, that's a long story. We'll get to that in a little bit, but basically here coming in, they've got some new developments going in kind of towards the front end of Granbury if you're coming from Fort Worth. So if that's something you're interested in, they definitely have it. It's not, as far as I'm aware of, there's no communities right here kind of towards the front that are going to have bigger lots. I would love to see, especially in Granbury, where there is so much land out here, something where you're going to get like a 1/3 to a 1/2 acre. I would love to see more of those type of neighborhoods going in, because I think that's one of the reasons why you get away from the big cities, right? You want a little bit more space. And anyways, they do have some of those type of communities kind of along the lake and that kind of thing, but right at the front, not as much. And so anyways, coming in here, there's a couple popular neighborhoods that I would kind of all clump into the same. Basically, as you come in through 377, and there's going to be a split here, one that takes you business 377 to the downtown, and the other one that keeps going. So if you stay on 377 just past the split and then head south, this neighborhood here is called Harbor Lakes. And again, we've got a video on Harbor Lakes, so if you're interested to know more details about it, definitely check out that video after this one. But the Harbor Lakes is really cool because there's a golf course, there's a ton of walking trails. It was built out. They've got a clubhouse, all that kind of stuff. So there's, if you want to get out and walk the dogs, all that kind of stuff, you want to go to the park, you want to take your golf cart to go play some golf, you could do that. And then it's also right along the lake. So this is kind of where it kind of bleeds into, what is this, Water's Edge, Water's Bend, Water something. But basically you have all of this lake living right next to it. Now all these neighborhoods have different names. They've kind of been developed in different sections, and as you can see, there's canals that are cut in and that kind of thing, and there's still building going on over here. So if you want something new, again, we'll talk about lake stuff here in a bit, but there is still some new homes going in that you're right on the lake. But anyways, really great option. And I think if you want to be in one of those neighborhoods where everybody else has really nice homes as well, then this is a great place to be, because what you're going to find a lot of times along the lake is you'll have really like a really nice house, maybe a couple really nice houses, and then like a 1,300 square foot stick frame, and you're like, okay. So if you want to be surrounded by other folks that have similar probably hobbies and all that kind of stuff, and the homes are similar, then this is a really good place to land. And all right, and then we talked a little bit about the downtown area here. So the downtown, obviously, Business 377, as I mentioned earlier, you take that, you're going to wind up in the square, which if you're coming in town just to kind of check it out, you got to stop in the square. That's part of it. They've got a really nice city park, or city beach park, I guess is what they're calling it. That's right next to the downtown. And so, you'll see a lot of kids out there in the summer, swimming, playing, all that kind of stuff. There's also a hotel right next to it. So if you are coming in town to stay, also a great place to stay to kind of take all that in, where you don't have to drive around. You can walk to all of these things. And then there's a bunch of shopping right along the square, which is what you would expect. There is a neighborhood right here, the water view, the point. So there's an independent living thing, but these homes here along the water are also, those are for sale. They come up for sale. You can own them. Anyways, that's also a cool spot to land. And let's zoom out a little bit. Let's talk about a few more neighborhoods. So if you are wanting to be near the lake, Oak Shores. So this is one you're going to find in Granbury. There are a lot of new homes going up. And unlike a lot of other areas, a lot of times these are builders that are buying one-off lots, and then they'll build a house on it. Unlike these master plan subdivisions where you've got 2 or 3 builders that's building everything. So one of the things that I guess you want to be careful of, and is another reason why you might want to utilize us for our expertise, is all of these builders are different. There's so many different ways to build a house. There are different ways, different products, different. There's so many things that go into new homes, which these are not all going to be built the same. They're not going to be the same quality, all that kind of stuff. And so it's going to help to have somebody that can help you navigate that. But and then another thing too, we'll get to the lake stuff here in a bit. We'll talk about how the lake runs and all that, and waterfront properties. But Oak Trail Shores is one. Being up in this area, I would definitely check the crime maps. Granbury it's interesting. If you look at the crime, it's higher than normal. But if you look at a crime map, it tends to happen in certain places. And so that's one of the neighborhoods that has higher than normal crime rates. And you're also going to see a lot of new homes going up in there. So you probably, and they're going to be less expensive, right? So if you find something and you're like, oh my gosh, it's less expensive over here for these homes, there's a reason. And it's going to take you longer to get to it, right? Because you got to come all the way through town and then make your way over there. So it's not super desirable, but it is less expensive in most cases. So, if budget is a concern, it may be something that you want to look into. And then if you come the other direction, a couple of things to note here. So there's a bunch of homes. All right. So first off, if you come down 377, you head south on 144, then you're gonna Stumpy's is right here. There's a marina. It's a really cool spot. Like if you end up living on the lake or you got a boat on the lake, Stumpy's is a very popular spot that people stop at. It's got live music. They've got really good food. They've got really good drinks. I mean, it's really everything that you would want to see on a lakeside restaurant. And it's ran really well. They've got a whole restaurant on the inside. They've also got like this dessert area. There's also a bunch of memorabilia and lake stuff that you can buy. So, I mean, it's a cool spot. There's another restaurant here, and sadly, this is almost embarrassing, the Rockin' S Bar and Grill Lake. I've never actually been to it. It's right next to the highway. And I basically lived in Granbury on the lake for a summer and never actually made it to that place. But I don't know as much about it. But it is another restaurant on the lake if you want to stop by. One of the things to note, so like if you are looking at waterfront, there's a bridge here, and I looked into buying a house back here to renovate, and they've got some nice houses back here. They've got some older houses, a little bit of everything. But one thing to note is this bridge is not very tall. So I have a wakeboarding boat, and my tower would not fit under this bridge. So if you had if you had like a pontoon boat and everybody ducked as you went under, you're probably fine. But if you've got a boat that's got a tower on it or something that's a little bit bigger, that may become an issue. And I think that's the only place on the lake that I know of where that's kind of an issue. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you do end up looking back there. And apart from that, you go a little bit south, you've got these different neighborhoods This is a big one right here. Indian Harbor. Oh my gosh. So little inside scoop on this, and most of this area is Indian Harbor. There's like a line, you can kind of see it running through straight down. I'll zoom on Port of Call right here. So basically there's two neighborhoods. On the top side of Port of Call, that's the Port of Call neighborhood, and on the bottom side it's Indian Harbor. And Indian Harbor is fairly big, and one of the things that's been a big problem here is the entrance gate. It used to be a manned gate, then they decided to go digital, but the problem is they didn't move the gate back, so it causes a traffic problem, and there's only one way in and one way out for this entire neighborhood, which is massive, right? And the problem is with the HOA getting anything done, there are like 13 different phases, and to pass anything, I think it has to be unanimous in all of the different phases or something like that. It's very hard for them to get anything done. So that's been a bit of a problem in Indian Harbor. This is where my lake property is. I mean, I think it's great in there, but it is definitely an issue if you're somebody that's got to get kids to school, to and from, you're always in and out. That's something that you're gonna have to deal with, unfortunately, until they get it fixed. The last time I was out there, which was about a month ago, they had put somebody at the gate again. So I don't know what the current situation is, but that's something to look into if you do find a property there that you love. Cool. And then further down, this is let's see here. There's another neighborhood here, which is Canyon Creek, which I believe we've got a video on this as well. There's a lot of one-offs going in here. Yeah, kind of the same thing here. This is really off the beaten path. So if you are somebody that's commuting, this is going to add some time to your commute. But in there, you get a lot of lots that are kind of secluded. Even if they may not be that big, there's a lot of trees in there. And so you can kind of get that private feel, and it's also a little bit less expensive to buy in there. So those are all good places to check into. And then over here on this side of the lake, man, I feel like I've been talking forever. Over here, kind of north of HEB, there is another neighborhood in here. This one is really cool. There's a lot of bigger lots going in throughout here. And so a lot of these are waterfront, and then you've got, some that sit up on a hill. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and the only downside is we talked a little bit earlier about the water treatment plant. It actually dumps into this creek, not the bad stuff, but like the processed water. I don't know if there is like a smell to it or whatnot, but I have noticed more homes going up for sale over here. I don't know if that's why, but basically that spills out into this little cove right here. And so I don't know, I haven't been over there to go sniff the air, but it may be an issue. That's something just to be aware of if you find something that comes up over there, to dig in a little further. But anyways, this is, hopefully that'll give you a pretty good overview. And then the other thing too, the further north that you go on this lake, the further up you go, it does tend to get a little bit shallower, and there are some different neighborhoods here. And there's also a bunch of land that hasn't been developed, and the reason for that is just you're going to be a lot further from stuff. The land, one of the things you're going to have to be aware of is, does it flood? Because if it does, I mean, it could come in quite a ways, and that may be why there's not as much development over here. It just depends, but that's something to look into as well. And then you're also going to be further removed. So if you need to run to the grocery store, it may be a 30-minute drive to get there, just depending on where you end up building your house, right? And you may end up from there, you may end up driving up to Weatherford rather than into Granbury. So that's just one thing to keep in mind if you are looking on that side of the lake. Granbury is a flooded river, and so basically they dammed it up here at the bottom by Pecan Plantation, right? That's why there's this nice crisp edge going across it, and they flooded this to make it what it is today. And used to, there was a power plant, and so they kept Granbury at a constant level. It shut down 10 years ago, somewhere around there. And so after that, we actually went through this huge drought, and it was a crazy scene. You could see, boats were still sitting in their slips, but they were hanging 15 feet off the ground, that kind of thing. So, it's no longer insulated from that problem. This is a problem that we all have on any lake, just about any lake here in Texas. Go through droughts, and then we got problems. But it's fed by PK, so Possum Kingdom. It's way up there. Possum Kingdom's probably 2 to 2.5 hours west of Fort Worth. And anyways, it's fed by Possum Kingdom. It's a flooded river. So one of the things you're going to notice if you are on the lake or if you drive around out there, there's going to be a flat side and then there's going to be a hilly side, basically anywhere on this lake. So until you get up, pretty much anywhere. And so basically, as the water flows, it carves out into the rock and then the flat area is flat. So if you're driving a boat on this lake, you want to hug the side with the tall hills because the water is going to be deeper there. There are always a couple boats that go down every year because they don't know this. They get into some shallow water and they'll hit a tree or a tree stump or something like that. And there are buoys throughout the lake to mark the channel to where you need to stay near. So that being said, I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One of the things that's nice is because it is a flooded river, it's not a super big body of water, and so it's not going to get as choppy as if it was just this big lake and there's a big wind that comes across it. It does get choppy. I've seen a whitecap. I mean, it happens all the time, but it's not as bad. And typically on any given day, if it's windy, there's always going to be a good spot because as you can see, it kind of snakes around. So any way the wind blows, there's always going to be protection at some point of the lake where you can go enjoy the lake. So that's always nice. Now, as far as living on the water, so here's something that, and this is kind of debatable, and if you live in Granbury or if you've got an opinion on this, I would love to hear it in the comments if you want to put it down there. But basically, because it is a river, on busy weekends, like especially holiday weekends, but even just during the summer, there are a ton of boats running up and down the river. And whether they're heading to Stumpy's to grab a bite to eat, or they're heading into the city center, or if they're just going for a cruise, or if recreational activities, a lot of tubers out there and that kind of thing, the water gets really, really choppy, and it becomes so much so that like it's not enjoyable to be floating out in there and that kind of thing. And so for that reason, a lot of times you want to find a cove or that kind of thing to get away from it all. And so there's kind of this give and take whether you want to be on the main body of water or not. A lot of people say, yeah, I want to be there because even if the lake goes down, I can still get my boat in, which is fair. And I think that's a really good reason why you would want to be there. But then also, if you're somebody that has grandkids over that want to, get out into the water and that kind of thing, it can kind of be scary, a little bit dangerous most of the day until, it comes around evening, that last 30 minutes of sunlight and everything kind of calms down a little bit. But anyways, that's one thing to consider. And then on the flip side of that, if you are going to go the canal route, which I do tend to like the canals a little bit better just because you're protected from that. You want to make sure that they're dug deep enough that even if the lake goes down, you can still get your boat in and out. Obviously, at a certain point, even if you're on the main water or whatever, if the lake's down far enough, there's a good chance you're not getting your boat out. But that's one thing to take into consideration if you are looking at being on the lake. I think, in my personal opinion, one of the best spots to be is kind of on this Vienna Drive. They've got, it doesn't show very well on this map, but basically they've got this bar here that comes out, and there's a little slit in it to where you can get into the lake. But basically they've got like a seawall there that's going to protect you from those big choppy waves. So this is a spot where you can get in, swim around the water. It's easy to get your boat in and out. It's also pretty deep in there. So like that's a great spot as far as, I guess, the combination of both. Like, do you want to be in deep water or a canal? And then also coves are great. I mean, coves, obviously natural protection there. So anytime you can get in a cove, that's also great. But, those are things to kind of consider if you're looking at being on the lake. If you're looking at building, there are definitely still some lots available where you can build on the main body of water. They're getting expensive, I'll tell you this. There's some that are not here listed currently that I know of. So if you're interested, give us a shout. Also, there's a new community going in, I think just past Cordova Bend, and there's one going in over here somewhere. It's going to be a pretty big community, and there's one-off lots that come available all the time. So if you want to build, it's definitely an option. And if you are interested, and this is another thing, if if you're like, hey, I am interested in moving to Granbury, if you go to our search page on our website, tom6realty.com/search, we have kind of a questionnaire where you can tell us exactly what you're looking for, and we set up a personalized search for you. So this isn't going to be like, there's only so much detail you can go into with like a Zillow or Realtor.com. We have so many different things that we can do on our search to give you really customized results to where you're not looking at all this stuff that doesn't make any sense for you to look at. But anyways, if you get a minute to do that, there should be a link in the description as well to get you over to that page. But we can set you up something very specialized for Granbury. And there's two options. We can, well, it emails you the listings as they come up, and then you can also elect to have it sent to you as a text message as well, which I find very helpful because I'm not great at checking my emails all the time. So if it's something where you're very excited to see it and everything else, it's nice if it comes in as a text. But if you want to look and see where the new home neighborhoods are, let's see here. This kind of shows you, this is, these are only new homes here, and this will give you an idea of where they're at. So as we talked about, Oak Shores, a little bit further up the river towards Weatherford. You've also got some new homes going up in this area. Yeah, kind of all along here. So there's a lot of options as far as new homes go. Cordova is pretty much built out. It's kind of surprising to see one over there. That could just be listed in the wrong place. That's also a possibility. But as we get down here, you can see, yeah, a lot of new homes right there. And then Pecan Plantation, you can see there's always new ones going up as well. So let's switch back over to our map. Cool. Let's see. Boy, look at this. I think I've covered everything on the list. Now, there are a couple unique neighborhoods. There are a couple of unique neighborhoods that I'm going to point out. First of all, if you are a pilot, there is a regional airport right over here. This is next to the high school. So that is one place that you should be aware of, just in case you want to fly in and out to whatever you're doing. And also, there is another one that's Nassau Bay, or Nassau. Where is it? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, over here by Cordova. If you take a look at the basically the lakes at Timber Cove, we'll talk about that in a second. But Nassau Bay, there's an airport right here. You can actually buy the hangars here. So if you wanted to actually own a place and live next to the airport, you could. So if you're looking at a place where you can just fly in for the weekend and stay or whatever, that's definitely an option. They don't come up very often, but they do. There's probably one or two that come up every year. And then the lakes at Timber Cove, this is kind of interesting. Let me see if I can switch this over real quick. Boom. So this always looks funny on a map because it's like you've got this weird body of water right next to the lake. But this is actually set up as like a skiing and wakeboarding type community. So it's a gated community, and you can see these different runs through here. So if you want to take your boat and practice wakeboarding or skiing or that kind of thing, you could do it, and you can dock up right at your house. And then they have another ramp that gets you over to the main lake. So if you did want to pull it out and go to the main lake, you can. I was kind of thinking they had access, but I don't see any access where you can just drive your boat on over. But that's kind of interesting. It's kind of a unique thing you don't really see very often. Yeah, that's all I've got for you in this video. I hope this was helpful for you to get you started. Again, I would strongly suggest that if you have decided, hey, we're looking in Granbury, or we definitely kind of got our area figured out and this is what we're looking for, go ahead and submit that search form so we can get you the most relevant properties out there, so you're not wasting time looking at all this different stuff. And if you have any questions that I didn't cover in this map tour, please let me know. A lot of what we're doing here is really just answering questions that generally come up, and so that's why we create these videos. And so any feedback we get is great. And also, if you did like this video, please give us a thumbs up. That always helps. And yeah, apart from that, we would love to work with you guys. And so if you are looking to buy or sell, as always, remember to keep calm. Call Tom.